Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Aeons. Welcome to Strange Aeons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. Hey guys, I drank a lot last night.
What?
So
No.
I'm not
Ew.
saying that I'm hungover, but I might be a little drunk still. So you get this on a spring forward kind of day.
Just keep that gravelly voice going, and we'll be thrilled.
Okay.
Keep doing you, Kelly. You sound like you've been through it, and we all love that.
I'm glad to hear that. I've got nothing fun to talk about first, unless somebody else does.
Oh, no.
I mean, we could talk about the royal family, I suppose.
Yeah, no. We covered that already.
Soon to be on our Patreon.
Yeah.
Well, I can talk about a film that I watched last night, the night before. It's all blending together. COVID times.
Yeah, maybe we could do we've been doing just a couple movies the last few weeks. We'll do 3 today. Or some other shit.
No, I've got movies. I just
really
don't have anything
scraping.
to vamp about beforehand. So,
Yeah.
There's a new Star Trek coming.
I think I saw that.
The Pike.
Oh, yeah.
The Pike series where we know that we're going to have weird Spock, weird casted odd ass Spock and Pike, who I loved.
Okay.
Oh,
And then they
great.
just announced the other, another 4 or 5 members of the cast, which are all female, 1 male. Actually, I think 1 might even be transgender, so it might not be. It might be 3 female, 1 transgender, and 1
Sounds very Star Trek.
male. Yeah, no, I'm curious. I mean, I also have zero faith because Picard was incredibly poorly written. I won't say bad because I love Patrick Stewart and I love watching him do anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Including holding a puppy or just reading the newspaper. I don't care. You go, Pat Stew. But yeah, it's the same writer, so I don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's disappointing to
I
hear.
know exactly.
Paramount is desperately grasping onto
Do they need
Star
writers?
Trek.
What is the problem? What are they doing wrong? Because then Lower Decks is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So I
Yeah,
guess.
I don't know. I think that, to be honest, I think that the merchandising end of Star Trek is way more profitable for them, and they need a show on to continue selling
sure.
stuff.
That's fair. And I will say, if you've ever been to the Star Trek official online store, which I've been to many times in the last decade,
At least 4 this morning.
it's amazing. They have a phenomenal store. It's super well organized. They have super fun items. Their posters are great. Their art is so good. I don't know about the quality of their shirts, but they have fun ones. So
There you go. Paramount's always been a little weird.
yeah.
They were a pain in the ass video releasing for a long time,
Oh really?
and they wouldn't release Grease for decades almost on
Why?
largely because they didn't want to pay the money rights for the music.
Oh.
Oh.
Because they had that was that time period when the movies you were writing didn't contract for video release.
Sure.
You didn't have video release, but we'll see how it goes. Their CBS app is now Paramount app or Paramount something or CBS
Paramount
Plus.
Plus or yeah.
Probably, yeah, Paramount Plus, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I did see that pop up. I don't, does that mean my CBS monthly subscription is now paying a Paramount monthly? Wait.
It's the same, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It basically was
They merged.
the way it updated on the TV was you clicked update and poof, suddenly I was Paramount's just is there something different? Okay. Just want to get your branding solidified.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because Paramount owns CBS, and I imagine they're looking at the streaming stuff and going, you know what, Paramount sounds better as a streaming service than CBS
CBS.
does.
All
Yeah, it does.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, it always feels cheap to be like one TV channel and I'm paying how much a month?
Exactly.
How lazy am I that I can't just steal this stuff? Which, by the way, for me was lazy enough to spend $6 a month. But
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Well, any movies then?
Well,
If you've seen-
I think what I will talk about is I saw or heard an interview with Glenn Mazzara, who was the showrunner of The Walking Dead, and
okay.
he was talking about, just briefly, the series Damien, which was the series
Oh, yeah.
sequel to the first Omen movie. And I remember watching the first episode and going, I'm out. I'm not interested. And
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
the interviewer was asking him some interesting questions, and he was talking about how he had 3 seasons figured out, and at the end of the 3rd season, it was going to be Armageddon. Damien was going to bring about the end of the world as the Antichrist.
Oh.
And I was listening to this stuff that he had laid out, and I thought, I'm going to give this show a try, I guess. It's on HBO Max.
How
Or
much
Prime.
of it is it just
A full season was,
Okay.
all that was made, 10 episodes or 13 episodes, something like that. I watched all 13 episodes, and I got to say, God damn, that show was great. And
Really?
I was
Wow.
so pissed that I never gave it a chance when it was first on.
what was the
Oh.
time frame for this coming out?
2015?
Okay, so it was a recent one. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very
Wow.
good. And I remember my problem with it was, you know how much I love The Omen, and even
Oh,
The
yeah.
Omen 2 and 3.
Mhm.
And I love his rise to power, to political power, and all of this stuff. And in this, they decided that wasn't how he was going to rise to power. It wasn't through politics.
Oh.
He is a war photographer.
Mhm.
I thought, this isn't really working for me in the first episode.
Sure.
But it starts making more and more sense as it goes on. And then I just fell in love with the whole goddamn thing. It was so good.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Huh. Okay.
And it ends well enough that it's kind of an ending. It's just a bummer knowing what he had planned for the 2nd and 3rd
Yeah, no
season.
kidding.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun final thing to watch. The people that didn't know it was coming freak. They find out on
Right.
Twitter and whatever.
Right.
Well, I finally got around to watching something you told me to watch a long time ago, which is The Night Comes for Us.
Oh.
Finally saw it. Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah.
That movie, the whole time I was like, that looks like it hurts so
I
bad.
think the problem that movie had was their promotions were just off, because that was good.
It was a really good film. I didn't realize until partway into it that I was like, this has got to have such strong tie-ins with The Raid,
Yes.
because it has the same star from The Raid, several of the same background actors, same location. I think it's also maybe Indonesia.
Yeah, I don't
and
know.
yeah, and I guess it's the same, like either co-director or co-writer or something. I can't quite remember, but somebody who was very, very close knit in there. So it has a very similar feel, but it's like it leveled up mostly. It mostly leveled up. There were a couple moments where I don't know what happened, but you could kind of see through like to the low budget strings behind. So there's like one scene where the audio was recorded poorly. So every time one character speaks, you hear it like the hiss of like traffic behind him.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And there was one bit where the green screen was fucking terrible and everyone changed color for like that one shot. And it wasn't even a good shot. I was like, you guys need to stop cutting to this like wide full because it's no good. But other than that, it was just so fast and furious and upsetting. But I loved it. I totally loved it.
Interject real quick. I misheard your title and thought of It Comes at Night,
Oh no.
which was
no.
the movie that was horribly advertised.
Oh, the snowy one, which I've only seen the first.
The snowy one?
Is that- no?
it's the post-apocalyptic film that was advertised like it was a horror film.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Is that the one with the guy? Okay. What's the basic plot?
They're all trapped in a home and creatures attack at night. And there's a couple suspenseful, creepy-ass things, but it's basically just a family living in a...
Is that the one with the painting? The kid looks at.
Maybe
this
you haven't
painting.
seen this one. I don't
Dang
know
it.
because you
I
keep
keep
throwing out things. I'm
digging
going.
things.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I don't know. Maybe there was
Spoiler.
a painting.
Nothing comes at night. So
Yes,
Yeah. Yep. That's the one with the painting.
it does. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a little boy, kind of his perspective, and it's got
Didn't make a huge impression on me. So
No, it's
No.
incredibly not. I remember really digging through while watching it, being like, there must be something more to this film. If I just really pay attention, something's going to happen.
when does the kung fu start?
That would have greatly improved that movie.
I remember when I talked to Eric about The Night Comes For Us.
Uh-huh.
It's a bad title. That's part of the problem.
yeah,
Absolutely.
There's all of this limbs being severed and all of that stuff, and that's fine. But when you see somebody break a finger
Oh
on
my
the edge of a
God.
desk, you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, fuck, god damn.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. And when there's a final fight where most of the time they have like swords, but when you get towards the end, it's just kind of a fist fight.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my God, the number of times they're trying to break each other's arms or legs and don't quite do it, but get close. I'm like, oh my God, he's pulling. Oh, he didn't do it. Oh no, he's pulling again. He didn't do it. So yeah, that is such a visceral. And there's one weapon in there that was really tough to watch where one of the females has this like piano wire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. Ugh. Ugh. That catches on all kinds of things and makes all kinds of things no longer part of your body. Ah,
So that's a thumbs up from you then.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
two,
that's a good one.
2 thumbs up if I've still got them.
2 thumbs up, just not too high.
Yeah, exactly. Just underneath the desk where you can't get to them.
Saw a couple low budget ones I'm going to talk about today. Probably Last Girl Standing. Anybody seen this one?
No.
No.
It's a great idea that needed another run through or 2 or 3 on the scripts. The idea was the last girl from a real serial killer in this movie, but the last girl standing.
Final girl.
Yeah, and it's her life like a year or 2 later,
Oh, okay.
and how she's having flashback problems and seeing this stuff, and which I was like, what a clever, interesting
Yeah.
idea.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it basically, if you found that interesting, stop listening. It's sort of a spoiler, I guess, if you're half asleep watching it. It ends up with her becoming the killer.
Oh,
She
That's
wasn't the killer
interesting.
in the first round when she
Right.
was the last, but she then ends up thinking this person is after them. She keeps seeing him. And it almost played well enough to you go, well, is there something supernatural with the guy? Are we going somewhere with this? But then it turns out she's just flashbacking or whatever the term would be,
mm.
and ends up being the killer. And it's like, damn. But the film is incredibly well made for something that is so obviously low budget. And I think I don't have their info written down with me, but I hope they continue to make movies because I think they could probably start to make some pretty interesting stuff because that idea is so good.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's interesting too because did you ever see the actual comedy film, I guess, Final Girl?
oh yeah, that's a great film.
which I actually thought could have used a few more rounds of script assistance because it was also an incredible idea and had a lot of fun things going on in it. But I
Maybe
felt
you
like,
shouldn't watch this one at all then.
yeah, oh, my standards
I
are
thought
too
Final
high.
Girl was really good.
Oh,
I did
I was disappointed, but that's okay. I don't know.
That could be one of those too if you saw it early or late kind of thing.
I saw it like on the day of release, I think, in theater.
Yeah.
So I was probably pretty amped for it.
Mhm.
And maybe it just didn't quite meet whatever expectations I walked in the door with. So I'm glad you guys liked it.
Oh yeah.
I know that the three of us like documentaries, and we are aware that a documentary can be about anything, and it
Sure.
could still be amazing if it's
Yeah.
put together correctly.
Absolutely. Although the one about Eames chairs was not as good as you would think.
Oh,
Okay.
well, the one about onion rings is way better than you would think.
Really?
It is on Prime. It is called The Ringmaster.
Oh
Oh,
my
shit.
God.
And Eric, you, I know, will love this because there's a lot of stuff in it that you're going to be like, what the fuck? I love this thing. It starts out as a documentary about this guy who just makes the best onion rings on the planet, and people will drive hundreds of miles to the restaurant he's at in this tiny little town of 200 people to eat his onion rings. But then, as the story unfolds, you can tell that the crew decide that they're going to kind of switch what the movie is about, and they start paying a little more attention to the guy who's making the movie. And it's really interesting because he's obsessed with making this guy who does these onion rings. He's obsessed with making him famous.
Oh, okay.
And he just wants the best for this guy to his own detriment, where he's blown his fortune on this documentary trying to get people to know about this guy.
Weird.
And this guy doesn't really want to be known.
The Ringmaster doesn't?
Yeah, it becomes very interesting. The title means two different things because it's the director who is also the Ringmaster,
Right.
and it's really interesting. It's streaming free on Prime.
Nice. Yeah. King of Kong knocked off
Yeah.
any subject matter anybody ever wants to say. That won't make a good doc. You don't know that. Go watch it. Go watch whatever you're interested in. It could be better than you imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. King of Kong. Incredible. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So I have a film that I'd actually watched last week and started trying to talk about, but kind of fell off the wagon, which was Moxie. So so I checked that out. New kind of coming of age teen movie with Amy Poehler behind it on Netflix. My mom kept being like, there's some movie with an M and I really want to watch it. So I was like, is it Moxie?
Your mom should know that. That should be a word she used back in the day. Right?
It is not. It is
It's
not.
got Moxie.
It's Whoops-a-daisy is more my mom's style.
Coming next month to Netflix.
She would definitely star in that movie. Whoops-a-daisy. So yeah, Moxie is interesting. I don't know. I've seen a lot of teen content. I think I just really enjoy teen.
Thanks. Comedy.
Anything, pretty much anything. I love anything involving a teen. I don't know why.
Uh-oh. Don't say that to the wrong person.
No, okay. Anything involving reminding me of what it was like to be somebody who really cared about what Hot Topic was selling that week. When your problems were a whole different thing. I don't know. It's fine. I think it has really good casting. I think it has really good potential. I think there's a lot of great things going on in it. But there's this weird thing that happens sometimes when people are determined to do things I think it's trying to meet the Bechdel test. And unfortunately, they throw a few boys in the mix, one of whom is this really sweet boyfriend character who they kind of throw under the bus and then end the film without resolving anything about it. And I was like, I don't know why you bothered to have him in this at all. Because other than to have a normal teenage experience, which is extremely valid, and I think it's a great idea to go ahead and talk about relationships in movies where you're coming of age. Sure. But then why then be like, he was a really good guy and he treated you really well, and then you treated him like garbage, and then end of film. Don't worry about this amount. We spent at least 20 minutes of the whole film in this world, building this up and then killing it. There's just moments where you feel like underserved or overserved the wrong flavor of something. And I felt like it really wanted to talk about female empowerment, but it did so by watering itself down into multiple teen topics. Weird. And it felt very much like it was extremely proud of itself, which always irritates me with movies.
Yeah. So. When you hear that, there's that scene where, this is what the writer wanted to talk about, and you've got this character spewing that out. All right. Okay.
Yeah. There were some really strong, awesome, interesting, unique characters in it. Female, transgender, all kinds of great representation. But then, I don't know, the main character, I guess I just didn't like her. I think that's what it boils down to. I was just like, why are you such a whiny little dick? Just get your shit together, dude. Stop being like this.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're not liking the main character, unless you're not supposed to like the main character.
No, I think you're supposed to really like respond to her, but her mom is awesome. Like her friends are like she doesn't have any reason to become as angry as she kind of does, and she doesn't have any reason to like lash out at people the way she does, other than just being like hormonal. And I kind of hate that too. Like
Sure.
being like, oh, this character's just hormonal. Well, fantastic. I'm really glad you reduced them to that.
Seems anti-feminist thinking.
I agree. I agree. When it's like, what are you on your period? And I'm saying that? Like, that's not a good thing, guys. Like, wheel that shit back. Like, give them a little more. I don't know. I would never, by the way, in real life ever say that because I think that's a shitty thing to say. But it was a frustrating film.
Okay.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
On your period or something? Jesus.
I tried, man.
I don't even. The period is a beautiful, wonderful thing that over half of the human population goes through. And I think that we should value that. We wouldn't
Eric,
have
do you have
humans
something you
without
want to
it.
talk about? I'm going to throw up.
Oh my God. We were talking about Armageddon, right? You want to talk about how Armageddon would exist without periods? Because I can go there. You want to see the end of the world? Girls can just stop bleeding. Then we will have the end of the world.
Fair point.
Okay.
So I watched a movie about weird relationships.
Go on. I'd love to hear about this.
In quick passing, though, I did watch Shadow in the Cloud.
Oh my God.
Which Kelly nailed as far as the content. It is not a good movie in any way, but it is so much fun to watch.
It's insanity.
Yeah,
it's pure insanity.
It's really, really weird.
I was telling Eric, I don't think my eyes could have rolled any harder at every single thing that happens in it, but I was just like, oh man, I am having such a good time.
Yes,
Yep.
completely. I think the accent was the only thing that I didn't like about that movie.
Horrible.
Yeah,
Yes.
horrible.
But they got rid of it relatively quickly, at least hers.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the other super low budget one I watched was I discovered, and I don't know if it's good or bad for Arrow Video, but their streaming site is $5 a month. And it's like everything they have on Blu-ray.
Really?
Wow.
So
Oh my
even some stuff
God.
that's out of print. I'm
Is this like a brand? Because this is the first time I started seeing movies and it was saying available on Arrow. And I was like,
Mhm.
is this a brand new streaming site or have they been doing this for a while?
I don't know. I don't know where I ran across it. Some ad probably on Twitter or something. Because I follow, that's probably what it was. I follow Arrow.
Oh.
They probably posted about it. So, well, check it out. And I'm like, well, damn it, man. I wouldn't have bought this box set.
If you'd known.
But I watched.
And it's only $5 a month?
Yeah, it's like $5.99
I'm
or
signing up for that as soon as you guys get out.
It's full of just insanity and some really good stuff. One of the ones I watched was called A Ghost Waits.
I've heard of it.
It's also a super, super low budget movie. I'm thinking, maybe $600.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because it looks like it's shot in, I'm assuming, the director's house. And it's black and white, which to me is something I've used in the past when I didn't get color shot very well in a short.
Sure. All of a sudden, this is going to be a black and white movie, we decided.
Yeah, yes. I could see black and white fitting the subject line, but the story is there's a ghost that haunts this house, and a guy comes in to basically get it. It starts with a family leaving the house and leaving all their shit there. So the guy comes in to fix the house up and get it ready for new renters or who's ever or selling it or something. And he runs into the ghost. But since he's got a job to do, he's like, screw that. And he runs back into the house. And after that, there's a weird relationship that starts to form between him and the ghost. Like they interact like we are now. They're talking to each other and he's asking her questions. And she's got a weird little trip thing that she does that adds some really interesting elements to the movie. For the budget level, the acting is really solid. It's not great all the way through, but there are actually incredibly well done moments where the actors just have these expressions that just work so well. Wow. And it was okay. And I was kind of like, oh, this is all right. It's fine. And then it ends and I'm like, fuck, And that ending was so solid.
Oh wow.
It's just like, and the other weird part about Arrow, I'm like, wow, this looks cool. Wonder what their Blu-ray extras are. Oh, there's like 7 things on. You click on the movie, it's like audio commentary
That you can watch on the
documentaries.
streaming.
Yeah, that you
version?
watch through the
Huh.
streaming service. It's like,
Whoa.
it's like, I guess you guys hope to make a lot from this versus selling media.
I feel like Arrow already knows that they have the exact amount of audience for DVD/Blu-ray sales as they will ever have.
Probably.
Because
Yeah.
it's like these people, this subset of people, and they're already committed, and they probably won't stop buying even if there's a subscription service.
Yeah, probably.
So maybe that's their way of expanding.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't talk about it, but we'd mentioned it in someplace somewhere. Somebody talked. The Stylist is their exclusive.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. That's
probably-
why I have heard of
Yeah,
this.
that's probably why I did too.
So are you telling me that like their entire back catalog is on there to stream?
I don't know if their entire is, but a lot of it is.
But-
I know there's a
okay.
few things on there that are out of print on disc,
Okay.
but I haven't.
Wow.
There's a lot of there.
Man, I'm checking that out.
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
That's the one thing. As much as I love Shudder, sometimes I go through there. It's like, man, they have great content, but they don't have a deep catalog.
right.
Yeah, I mean, you scroll through. It's like, okay,
It's like early Netflix when they didn't have a big server or something and they
Yeah.
had to keep dumping content every time they got something new. They're like, what can we get rid of to make room?
Yeah.
That's kind of what Shudder feels like.
but Arrow's huge. I think it's probably deeper than the Criterion channels was. Like, there's just a
Wow.
lot of shit on there.
That's incredible.
This episode brought to you by Arrow,
Oh,
the new
man, I
streaming channel.
wish.
Yeah, exactly. If
Hello,
we could
Arrow.
get free Arrow stuff, oof,
Oh.
give me a t-shirt. That'd be amazing.
All right, you guys, how about we take a little break? I'm going to have another shot. And when we come back, we are talking, I believe, about your topic, Eric.
Yes, Surviving the Night.
Surviving the Night.
Is interesting considering what you're.
I know. Yes.
All right, we'll be right back.
A lot of people think using Federal Express is complicated. But really, it's so simple, even a vice president can do it.
Hello, Federal.
All you do is pick up the phone. We come to your office and pick up the package. Well, even a president can do that.
Hello, Federal.
In fact, using Federal Express is so simple that even a chairman of the board can do it.
Hello!
Federal Express, when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight.
And we're back. Eric, this was your topic
Yes,
choice?
it was. The idea is, it doesn't occur often in horror movies, but you've seen it where somebody has to survive the night by choice or by accident or whatever reason.
Mhm.
This one was, well, kind of by being dumbasses, to be honest. But anyway, so the movie I'm talking about is 1978, Satan's Blood.
Satanás existe porque existe el mal.
Andrés, no me digas que no te acuerdas de mí.
Perdona, pero
Bruno, hombre. Yo soy Bruno.
la historia de la humanidad es también la historia de la Inquisición, de la magia negra, de la brujería, del satanismo.
¿Te apetece ir a su casa?
No lo sé. La verdad es que ni siquiera nos han dado tiempo a pensarlo.
En nuestras ciudades tecnificadas existen centenares de sectas satánicas.
Parece una pareja simpática. Además, ¿no teníamos otra cosa que hacer?
Tal vez son los juegos de una sociedad que se aburre, o una necesidad de lo misterioso, o simplemente una búsqueda del placer. Pero en cualquier caso, es un juego peligroso, porque fuera o dentro de nosotros, el mal existe. Y una vez desatada su fuerza, quizá no se pueda controlar.
Spanish film. The Rotten Tomatoes on it is there's no ratings from critics and 44 from the audience. Could find nothing on budget or box office. And to give you a taste of where we are going, it is a Vinegar Syndrome release.
Aha!
So, it's directed by Carlos Pietro, who directed 6 or 7 Spanish films. Jean-Pierre Simon, who's uncredited, who's apparently French, but he was in Cthulhu Mansion and Supersonic Man and Slugs.
Well, I kind of like Slugs.
Slugs is highly entertaining. Slugs is sort of like the sofa killer. It's like,
right.
Why is this so good? Same guy, the director also wrote it. He did, however, write The Semester We Loved Kim Novak and the movie called Trauma.
I'm familiar with Trauma, but not The Semester We Loved Kim Novak.
I have no idea what that is. Stars Angel Arnada, who's on a Don't Forgive, I Kill, Bullets Don't Argue, and The Last Days of Pompeii.
Oh my God, Bullets Don't Argue. That's such a good title.
That's brilliant.
Sandra Alberti, who's in Trauma, El Transsexual, and Marina Carr, who's got a lot of credits, almost all Spanish TV. And usually when she was on the show, she wasn't on for one episode. It seemed like she was on like 5 or 6 episodes on any TV show she appeared on. Finally, Jose Maria Julian, who's also a TV person. That's basically like the entire cast. It's pretty much just 4 people, although there are a few that comes in and out. The movie begins with a segment sort of like, not unlike Rocky Horror Picture Show, where you've got this scientist kind of guy coming out and explaining to you about satanic cults and they're prevalent in the current world and the rituals they practice. Watching it, I couldn't tell if he was a joke or for real, but apparently he was actually an occult expert in Spain at the time it was recorded.
Oh my gosh.
He was just sort of goofy. So it's kind of, and he looked so much like he should be what he is that it seemed like, it probably isn't real, but nope, it is. The movie then starts with a human sacrifice scene, which goes on kind of long, but is generally well done and really never occurs again. What happens in that scene never gets recreated in the future satanic rituals and stuff that go on in the movie. So I was like, all right. And jump to the main story. The basic storyline is there's a couple on vacation and they're checking out a city that they're staying in. At least that's what I thought. Turned out later on that what I thought was a hotel was their apartment. But so apparently they live there or they just moved there because they don't know anything about the city. That's why I wondered. So they go looking around the city, and every place they go, they get these weird random couple that comes up to them and is very flirty with them and talkative. And well, they say, the guy says, we went to school together, man, don't you remember? And knows stuff he should know. With the response, we met when you were high. It's like, what? Oh, was it in college? All right. So they invite them to this house, and the couple that just met this other couple decide, sure, let's go. And it's a long trip. And they're driven through the road, and then they get on this dirt road, and they're driving a long time. I'm like, why are you still following these people? It's like, this is not going to end well for you. But they go all the way out there, and they decide, maybe we should leave. No, that's not going to happen. There's a lady that owns the house, scares the crap out of the dog that they had in their car. A sure sign of somebody to stay away from. He was barking like crazy and did something with the dog. I don't know if they locked him in a place or if they just left him outside, but he sort of disappears. One thing that's very unweird, because I'm like, wow, this is kind of neat music. It's got this weird, almost goblin-esque music playing. And then the homeowner gets up and turns the record player off. And that's what they were playing in their house.
Okay.
I don't think I'll be staying. They start talking about what we're going to do, and they grab the evil goblet of power, and it's like a glass, like a wine glass. Like, wow, it's elaborate. And then they have a really cool Ouija board they built, but it's like a table, like a small, like a table you might see in a bar that 2 or 3 people would sit at. but it's all glass covered. It's really neat looking, but it is really weird to watch somebody use a Ouija board in another language.
Oh.
I don't know what you're spelling at all. And here's where the notoriety of this film begins. It was apparently done with the idea of we're going to do a kind of creepy, weird movie with lots of naked people.
Oh, all right. I'm interested.
So the couple who's visiting, who have been uncomfortable and kind of wanted to leave, decide to. The lady takes a bath and the guy joins her, and it starts with this weird thing where they're splashing each other like they're in a pool. What the hell are you people doing? You seem perfectly comfortable with this place now, apparently. And to further the weirdness, because they wake up later and they're sleeping in the bed naked. I'm like, I don't know about you, but if I visit another person's house and I'm in a hotel or something like that, naked sleeping is not necessarily my first.
It's got to be Spain.
idea.
It's Spain. I think everybody does in Spain.
Everybody's Spain. Okay.
Yeah.
I just appreciate that, Eric, since we generally share a room every time we go somewhere.
Yeah, that is very true. Not being able to sleep, the lady decides to go looking around the house and gets attacked by a burglar/rapist who fails in attacking her, but still's like, who is this guy randomly popping up who doesn't appear again until like the third act? You see him every once in a while walking around outside, but then behind it's implied that there's somebody back there watching him. Like, what's going on?
You know what they say, if you show a rapist in the first act.
Oh, no.
You got to kill a rapist in the last act. They come downstairs to find that the couple that owns the house is naked in the middle of a pentagram, just doing some ritual. And here's the fun part. If you're deeply religious and you're watching a satanic-based movie in another language, you get to play along because you're reading the words.
Oh.
So it's like reading the subtitles going, oh, this is kind of rhythmic. I can see what's going on here. And then they all break out some oil and oil each other up.
It's also very Spanish sounding.
Doesn't quite go to adult film territory, but it's kind of close. It was reminiscent without the meltiness of like the last scene in Society. So it's like, okay, this is weird.
Is it just like a normal orgy?
No,
you
no,
just don't have melting?
it's sort of ritualistic shining up of each other.
Okay. Wax on.
Yes.
Now the buffing begins.
The music is interesting in that it borders on really good to laughably bad. It's just bizarre. For some reason, it ends with this giant scream of pain, and then new scene, they're all wearing robes. And, okay. They refuse to. The couple visiting decides we're not going to go back to bed now. But the homeowners go to bed, and the witch is, of course, sharing a wall, and you start to hear like animal growls from their side of the other side of the wall. Oh, here's where the rapist came back in. I guess it wasn't quite the third act. He's sitting there looking through the windows and then gets stabbed in the back by somebody.
Okay.
Oh,
that you don't
that's
see.
Nice.
And all caps, holy shit, creepy doll in the room. They had a great creepy doll. It looked weird as hell. It was really well done. And that's what works at times in this movie. There are actually little creepy scenes. It's not Troll 2 kind of bad thing, but it's got a lot of weirdness. But the couple is looking around and no one appears to be home. Their dog's missing. The car is missing. And there's still half an hour to go in the movie. But they start to look around the house and find a photo album that has them in it.
So
that's very creepy.
So the homeowners return in their car. They decide, let's leave. I'm like, what about your dog? And they get in the car, start up and go, oh, our dog. Unfortunately, they find the dog. So it's like, oh. Oh, the guy who owns the house seems to die, and doctor shows up, says, well, nothing we can do. It's like, yeah, no shit. He looks like he's been dead for a long time. For some reason, the doctor tells them to stay in the house, and they stay. Well, it gets weirder from there. You never really find out who the guy is that's wandering around outside the house that stabbed the other guy. Or if I did, I'd missed it. It would have been a really fast segment. There's attempted suicides. There's more naked people. So that's, I was a little surprised. One scene they're taking off somebody's clothes and it was done off screen. I was like, oh my God, you've already been naked 3 times in this movie, but this one, you're going to be off screen. So trivia notes. This is an interesting film. It was fun to watch. I can see why it has a giant cult following. It's got the weird satanic stuff that's done fairly well. And, any movie that is a 70s movie full of naked people is a horror film that was made in the 70s.
Sure.
Absolutely.
But the acting's really well done. The remastering is incredible, per usual. The original title was Esco or Frio. One word. I don't know.
I was going to say, and that means...
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Free
It means Satan's
Eskimos. No?
Probably
I
not.
don't think so. But
Free
we'll go
snail.
with it for now.
when they were shooting the rain and stuff scenes, they didn't have a rain machine, so they just decided to go with dry lightning storms. Like, okay. And there is a little ending after the credits, which ties a large portion of the movie back together. So that is nice. The professor at the beginning was added after the film was shot because the people were worried about the satanic content not being properly discussed. And they felt they didn't want to present the Satan as good aspect or whatever they thought the movie was promoting. There's 2 directors that worked on it. They don't really break down real well how well it was done or how it was done. But the interviewer who's alive, the guy they did talk to, says everything that's wrong with the film was his fault and all the good stuff was due to the guy who's died. That's very generous of you.
Yeah.
The smell of oil in the oil scene was so horrible that they had to speed up the shoot and abandon the room for a while.
Oh, no. Oof.
The sets they used, I didn't realize they used a set because it was that well put together. Because the house they go into looks perfectly fine. Like it would have a giant room that they did the rituals in. But apparently it was a set. In interviews, however, one director, they didn't say which, says it was crazy and sometimes seems so out of control nobody knew what was going on. The other director said, we always knew what was going on during the set. I'm guessing that was probably Juan that said the second one. And Carlos, who said everything was bad was his fault, said the first one. The editor worked while the film was being shot. Which is a little more common now, but it was not common then.
Yeah.
And the film was nearly done after 3 days after wrapping.
Wow.
That's awesome. Whoa, what a beast.
It was shot in December with no heating in the house, which is just mean.
Yeah.
Considering was the bathtub splash scene? That would just be cruel. There are a few scenes where you see the homeowners eating what appears, they kind of eat like dogs out of a bowl. It is largely implied that they might be werewolves or something along those lines, but that is never
I was going to say,
delivered.
What? Did you mention that at all?
It's barely shown. It's largely there because of the growls and the way they eat what looks like they're eating out of a dog dish. And apparently the actress who was interviewed in the Blu-ray said that it was real meat. Raw, she put it in her mouth and couldn't stop tasting blood for several months.
Oh,
But it just stuck with her.
Oh.
Apparently the movie did well, but they didn't say how well, and I couldn't find any online evidence to back up what they were saying. So I don't know if it did well in Spain or if it imported over to the...
I've never even heard of this movie.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Is it like, did it come out a while ago from Vinegar Syndrome, or is it part of their No Giallo?
It was
craziness.
I think in December.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they just released it.
Yeah, because I know they've been digging deep into Spanish horror lately, which is pretty cool.
It's a good well. Spain has some amazing horror films. Very underrated. So that's my try to survive the night, and they did fairly well at it.
So the movie that I went with, it's a little bit cheaty, but I don't care. I went with 30 Days of Night for my Survive the Night.
out the windows. Try to hide. They're coming.
They? Who are they?
You know? Vampires don't exist, Jake.
That cold ain't the weather. That's death approaching.
They're tearing through everyone's home.
We can last a month.
So you're saying it's like one giant
It's
night.
one giant night. One long ass night. This is a movie that came out in 2007. The Rotten Tomatoes has it at 51% critic response and 56% audience, which I have to say is pretty low, I think. Maybe at the time... maybe at the time... I'm getting looks. Maybe at the time... I don't know. The budget was $30 million, but the box office was 75.5. So it was definitely a success. The director is pretty interesting. His name is David Slade. He's done 32 different projects. He started off with music videos. So he did a bunch of stuff for like Stone Temple Pilots, AFI, Fatboy Slim, Aphex Twin. And he was definitely like during that height of music video where like Michael Bay came out of. It was definitely where he was starting. He gained success through Hard Candy, which was his film right before 30 Days of Night. So I think he became like a indie film darling off of it, and everybody wanted to throw projects at him. Since then, he's done Twilight Saga Eclipse.
Oh.
He's done 5 episodes of Hannibal, 3 episodes of American Gods. He did Black Mirror Bandersnatch, and he's produced quite a few different things, including all of American Gods and all of Hannibal. So he's got kind of an interesting career.
Yeah.
The producer, you guys might have heard of, Sam Raimi.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Raimi, part of the reason why this film exists is because Sam Raimi believed in it, which I'll get more into later. The writers on this, in case you didn't know, 30 Days of Night is also a graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Niles is a horror comic writer. On his IMDb, which I think he might have written, it says it says full stop. He's responsible for bringing horror comics back to prominence with Wake the Dead, Freaks of the Heartland, Fused, Love Me, Tenderloin, Hide, and Dark Days. I haven't read any of those, so I don't know.
Wow. Obviously a huge giant wave. 3 horror fan comic book readers, and none of us have read any of those.
Totally.
Well, I do love Steve Niles as a guy and as a writer, but I don't read a lot of or any of what you listed.
I do own the first 30 Days of Night.
Sure.
Yeah, me too.
But which is beautiful. It's a beautiful looking comic, but yeah, I also don't. Anyway, he also has written October Faction TV series. He wrote Fear 3, the game. And he did the screenplay for this film, as well as the comic, as well as TV miniseries, and some weird 28 Days Later shorts. I don't know what that's about, but way to go, Steve. There were a couple other people who threw their names on this, including Stuart Beatty, who is the writer who did Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. He also did Collateral, Australia, G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra, I, Frankenstein. And a few other spec scripts for different video game projects. Starring Josh Hartnett. Dreamy Hartnett, who you might remember as coming out of Halloween H2O, which is first role.
There you go, with the great hair.
Yeah. Followed by The Faculty, also great hair.
Yes.
Bad. Oh my God. I remember watching it not that long ago being like, you have so much product in this business. You need to like take a shower right now, sir. But he did that and he worked really hard for a short burst of time here because then he was in Virgin Suicides in 99, Pearl Harbor in 2001, Black Hawk Down in 2001. 30 Days and 30 Nights in 2002. He just went bam, bam, bam. You might have seen him in Black Dahlia, Sin City, Wicker Park. I mean, he really went at it. And then most recently has kind of been doing things like Penny Dreadful, 2014 through 2016. He's in something called Paradise Lost. I don't know. But in case, if you did not know him from any of these other projects, you might know him as the sexiest vegetarian voted by PETA in 2003.
Oh, boy.
So out of all of the like sexiest man awards, I like that one the most. Melissa George, there's actually a pretty cool ensemble cast in this. I won't go into all of them, but just the leads. Melissa George, who plays his wife / ex-wife, plays Stella Olsen. She's been in 58 projects, including she starred as Angel Brooks in Home and Away from 1993 through 2005. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes of this soap opera series. She was in Dark City in 98, Mulholland Drive. She had a good stint in Alias. She was in Triangle. Danny Houston plays Marlowe, who is the lead vampire bad guy, 78 roles, including more recently in Wonder Woman. And he was also Stryker in X-Men Wolverine. Ben Foster plays The Stranger, which is like a creepy dude who shows up into town. He's been in 59 things, including playing Angel in X-Men Last Stand and 22 episodes of 6 Feet Under. Mark Boone Jr., who I loved in this movie. He's kind of the weirdo of the town, doesn't want to hang out with anybody, doesn't want to talk to anybody, just wants to be left alone. He's been in 157 things, just tons and tons of stuff, but you might have seen him as Flass in Batman Begins. He was Detective Whitworth in Too Fast, Too Furious, or Memento as Bert. He's just done a ton of walk-on TV roles. He's basically just walked on to pretty much every single show out there. Manu Bennett, who plays Billy Kitka, he's sort of the deputy of town. He's been in 31 things, but 254 episodes of Paradise Beach. I don't know what it is, but way to go. He was also in The Hobbit as Azog. So this movie... the plot, it's pretty cool little setup, actually. So in the town of Barrow, Alaska, we start off at the preparations for the 30 days of night. Everyone knows that there are going to be 30 days of night, starting at a certain date. People, it's in the middle of nowhere. You can only access this place by plane. So people are like giving each other goodbyes, kissing their loved ones, because most of the town pieces out during this time. They go back into town, they go somewhere else, and usually they have to leave by a certain date because otherwise the weather just becomes too bad and they're just stuck there. So as everybody's leaving town, and others are hunkering down and preparing for the dark 30 nights, we meet a couple of different characters, including Sheriff Barrow, the sheriff of Barrow, who is Eben Olsen. We meet his estranged wife, who is trying to sneak out of town without him realizing she's there at all. So she's kind of snuck in and snuck out, Stella. And we also meet a stranger who shows up off of a large ship that's kind of stuck in the icy waters. He rows off and just starts walking through the snow, making his way into town. Meanwhile, Stella has to call Barrow or Eben because she has a car accident, which is hard to tell if it's on purpose or not. Seems like it might not be, but hard to tell because then he's like, okay, all right, deputy best friend of mine, why don't you give her a ride to the airplanery so she can make her flight? She doesn't want to see me. I guess I don't want to see her. And dude drives really slow and she misses her flight. And she's like, could you go any faster? He's like, sorry, ma'am, it's law. The whole town basically is up in their business, does not understand why they split up, and really wants them to get back together. It's just clearly just small town life. A stranger shows up into the town at last, sits down at a diner, insists on getting some raw meat, to which the waitress gives him sass, and then he gives her sass. And then, of course, Eben shows up and is like, I'm going to put you into a jail cell now because you're getting really violent. So let's go. And in the jail cell, the stranger, who refuses to reveal where he came from, who he is, how he got there, does say, by the way, something is coming. And in fact, something is coming. We can tell because, sadly, a bunch of dogs are horrifically gruesome murdered. We have a weird couple of people, like a threesome, that I think they're all going to have sex with each other. I don't know. It's gross. It's a weird, like, flirty young girl flirting with two dudes at the same time thing that I just did not buy into, but they get killed, so that's fine. And then there's a couple that's fighting, and one of them just gets sucked out of a window. So we don't know what it is. We just know that it is really fast, furious, intense murder with a lot of blood making its way into town. This is, in fact, a band of vampires led by Marlowe, this kind of really bald, intense dude who has started the slaughter of the townspeople. And it kind of erupts into a feeding frenzy. And it goes from just a couple of people here and there while we get the setup of the plot into people running through the streets just being like their heads just getting severed. And, you know, there's these really cool shots of almost like drone-like, which had to have been a helicopter at the time, of moving slowly over the top of the town with just chaos ensuing of people running and getting trampled and other people crashing cars and things being lit on fire. Just such a cool setup. So they just jump right in. So basically, this band of murders has discovered they have this perfect opportunity to get fed all winter long with no consequences, because if they kill everybody in the town, nobody can reveal that they exist because vampires are a myth. The film very quickly becomes a survival piece with the remaining humans, which include, of course, Stella, the deputy somewhere out there, we're not quite sure where, Chief Hartnett, of course, is still going strong.
Is his hair better in this movie? I don't remember.
It's actually pretty good,
Okay.
but he is wearing a hat most of the time. So it would be hard to tell. Yeah, everyone's pretty well bundled up in this film.
Okay.
His brother survives. So there's a lot of him trying to take care of his kid brother. And of course, the outsider. And some very stupid survivors who want to do very stupid things like, why don't we just run past them? They can't get us all. Well, then they'll know about our secret hiding space, won't they? We kind of end up hanging out with these people a long time. They do a lot of time jumps in this to get us through the 30 days of night. So we kind of jump into 18 days later. They're up in this attic in this house that was boarded up. So the vampires don't even know that they're there, but they're running out of supplies. They need to get to the store. And they decide, you know what, let's use our strength and our knowledge about the winter, which they don't know. The vampires have just showed up, to our advantage. And a giant whiteout snowstorm is coming. So let's use that as cover and make our way through that to the other side of town. Of course, does not go quite as planned. They get to the store, get all their supplies, everything's going really well. And then a creepy child vampire shows up and is like, let's play, or whatever dumb thing children monsters tend to do. It is the trope of the child monster. I don't know if this is kind of a place where it started or not, but it's front and center of that kind of dumbness. So now they're stuck on one part of town and they need to find a way to get out. The vampires are made aware of their existence. And so we get a couple of heroic mad dashes. A guy who doesn't want to talk to anybody does this really phenomenal scene where he's drives this plow. And he just is like, fuck it. I don't care if I die or not. Jumps in the plow and just starts plowing down vampires. And it's really beautiful. He has like a shotgun. So every time they get to his door, he just blows them away. So he takes care of a fair number, maybe like a fifth of the vampires, but it's pretty impressive. And then, of course, has a nice blowing himself up bit, which is just fantastic. However, the rest need to still get to safety. So we have Hartnett doing another mad dash of trying to distract them by like running through town going, get me, come get me, I'm food, which results in him getting to a UV light, which he uses on the head vampire's lady friend and fries her, and thus becomes kind of the mortal enemy, as it were, because I guess he's actually mortal, of the lead vampire. So they know of his existence and they want him dead. Now we have everybody in a state of chaos. Some people have made it to this really gnarly like plant where they have one of those grinder things where it's like two wheels with little nubs grinding into itself, and anything that gets in there is dead. Huh. Which, I hate those. I think I've seen a YouTube video I shouldn't have seen.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so you know that's going to come into play. Stella has rescued a child from the vampires that they were using as bait, and she is hiding underneath a car. And we know that we are less than 24 hours away from sunlight coming and this movie coming to an end. But she is going to potentially freeze to death. There is one of the bad vampires, not the lead, but one of the secondaries, has gone into this plant. And Hartnett is trying to figure out what the hell to do as the vampires burn down the town and start throwing gasoline everywhere, including outside of this overturned car that they do not know is holding the love of his life / estranged wife and child, little kid. So we get this really cool kind of ending scene. I don't want to give it away, like how he has a solution to this problem, but it does result in a really good fist fight that is stupid but wonderful at the same time. And somebody's hand might go through all the way through somebody else's skull, and it's pretty fantastic. So this film, I really like this film. So I saw this for the first time a couple of years ago when I was doing my 30 days of horror for October kind of thing, 31.
Cute.
Yeah. And I love it. It is beautiful. The cinematography in this film is simply stunning. Every single shot feels just like the comic book. It feels purposeful. It feels beautiful. It just stunning use of light and black and red. Really great shot angles. The concept of the town is incredibly neat. I love this idea of, they only have, there's, the setup of 30 days is great. The vampires are pretty fucking intense. I like their spin on it. They're just killing machines, but they have this like weird clicking language that they use that they've made up just for this film. It's really, really fun. I've never seen the board game Risk used so often in a film before, but dang it if they don't play a lot of Risk in this movie, and I love it. As somebody who used to enjoy playing Risk by taking over Papua New Guinea and putting all my forces on it and doing nothing else, it is a real joy. The mass death scenes are incredible, great choreography, and some of the characters are just really neat little character pieces. Things that you might not like about this movie, sometimes they feel stupid. It feels like they're making stupid decisions, which I think is a problem with a lot of these kind of ensemble group survival movies. The stranger's role in this doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know if there's something lost in translation between the comic and this, but like he's there and then like the lead vampire shows up and he's like, they've got some arrangement that I don't know. And at the end of the day, he kills him and he's like, but good job. And I'm like, good job for what? You didn't do anything. All he did is show up in town and go, I'm weird, and put me in a cell. And now I'm going to tell you something's coming, but not tell you anything else. Like, it didn't make any sense.
He's kind of the Renfield character, right?
Yes.
And I think I remember, doesn't he collect all the cell phones and destroy them or something?
Oh,
he kind of sets the table for them.
Oh, okay. And maybe he killed the dogs.
Yeah,
too.
I think he's. Yeah.
That would have made, okay. I completely missed that. And that is something that is a problem with this film as well, is sometimes you're not really sure what's happening and why it's happening. They're not really clear at times, like why we're going from one place to another, why the characters have to do this or do that. I think it takes a couple of watch throughs to get a better understanding of why they even go to the factory in the first place. So there's just little things that it's one of the few moments where I think a film is being a little bit too clever. Like they probably could have spelled a few things out a little bit clearer for the audience. Yeah. The little girl vampire is irritating. And I think honestly, overall this this film would have made a better TV show. I think if it was a multi-part TV show where you did each episode in one little section of different people who are trying to survive, I think that would have been a stronger use of this concept. But that being said, I still really enjoyed this film a lot. Just a little bit of trivia for y'all. This film was originally pitched as a comic, but was met with a lack of interest. So then it was pitched as a film, which didn't work out. So the writer shelved the idea until he managed to run it past IDW, who then published it and said it's great, and used Ben Temple-Smith as the artist, who did a wonderful job. Then this dude's agent, the writer's agent, shopped the comic around again as a film. And then it went shockingly well. And Sam Raimi and Senator International picked up the property rights. They loved Temple-Smith's unique mood and concept for the vampire and just went with it. According to Raimi, the potential project was, quote unquote, unlike the horror films in recent years. So he was just really stoked for it. Raimi produced it, originally was going to direct, but along the way just kind of thought he'd rather take a back seat with it. But his new production company, Ghost House Pictures, it went under that label. Columbia Pictures actually requested that Niles' initial screenplay be rewritten and prepped for the production, as it just wasn't quite ready for film. So Stuart Beatty took it on, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean guy I mentioned earlier. And in one of those few moments of being rewritten, Niles actually was really pleased with Beatty's drafts. Did not hate it. He said it was really faithfully rewritten. And only bad side to this whole thing is that then David Slade, when he came on to direct, decided he needed to take an additional whack at the script. And so he did some final rewrites, which I don't know if those were good or bad. If anything that I didn't like about the film was due to him, I don't know. But I do know it went through probably one set of hands too many. There was some controversy over casting Hartnett, as in the original comic book, the character was Inuit. In filming, they were aiming to make a scary vampire film because Slade didn't believe there were pretty much any. They also decided they needed a unique way for vampires.
For God's sakes.
Yeah, he was basically like, I'm gonna make this like for real, actual scary, yo. They decided they needed a unique way for the vampires to communicate, which is because they didn't want to undermine the monster effect by using them like yelling across the snowstorm to each other, hey, over here. So that's when they came up with this language of click consonants. This helped them avoid silly accents and also reduce the vampires to kind of eating and hunting creatures. They speak a completely original language, which was put together with the help of a linguist out of New Zealand University. It was shot in New Zealand. Nearly half the cast is Kiwi or Australian. That entire town was constructed in New Zealand. So also was filmed in 80 days, which I think is really impressive. I don't really understand. I had totally conflicting notes about the snow. Some people said it was real snow. Some said it was fake snow. So I don't know what the deal with the snow was, but it looked incredible. So whatever they were doing, it worked well for them. Josh Hartnett was sick with mono for 2 weeks of this filming. In that period, he also had to fly to Venice, London, New York, and LA for premieres of Black Dahlia.
Could have skipped those.
I know. Well, I think that was like a big deal at the time for him. This film has a sequel called Dark Days, which went straight to home video. There's a prequel miniseries called Blood Trails, which was released on fearnet.com. It also had another miniseries, Dust to Dust, released in 2008. There are 6 novels based on the franchise. And last bit of fun factory has a lot of overlap with Salem's Lot, including the head vampire being named Marlowe versus Barlow. Small town fighting back against vamps. Both towns burn down at the end. Both have a romance character that I can't say that because I'll spoil some stuff. Both head vampires are killed while the remaining vampires escape. There's just a lot of overlap. So that was my film.
I don't love this movie.
Yeah. My history for the movie is I saw it in the theaters and I've never seen it since.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember hearing it wasn't good and avoiding it for years. But
well, that would definitely help it being a lot better.
Sure. I think the vampires are very effective.
Mm-hmm.
They're creepy looking.
Yeah. I like the look. The animalistic destruction of the town seemed weird for a group of vampires. Hey, let's go out here and feed for 30 days. Oh, why are you killing everybody right away? Can't you like corral them and, use their udders or something? But a lot of your descriptions, I remember it being, incredibly well shot. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. I just didn't watch it again.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a more personal feeling about it too. And
I was going to let you go there if you wanted to.
Probably the closest Eric and I got to getting a studio-funded feature film was off a script that I had written called Sunset, and we were in the casting stage, and it looked like
we were in LA.
We were going down to LA regularly, and it looked like, boy, here it goes. And it turned out that it was pretty similar to 30 Days a Night, although it takes place in one night in a desert town with vampires overrunning it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And this movie came out and got horrible reviews, and the calls stopped.
Yeah.
We were just dropped immediately.
Oh my God.
It was like, nobody would return calls anymore. It was just like, well, that was our shot.
Oh.
30 Days a Night's looking huge. It's going to be great. Hey, check this script out. All right, thanks for your script.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so there's also that.
I understand that.
I remember it like Mr. Blonde.
Oh, right. Madsen.
Yeah,
Michael
Madsen was one of the people we were talking to. I mean, it was weird because I called his studio and he answered.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, pitching the movie directly to him. I was like, oh, yeah, send the script on down. But of course, never heard back from him.
After that, yeah. I remember being at the pizza joint with you and your phone ringing, and you were like, oh, it's Michael Madsen. I got to take this. I was like, what?
That's incredible. I mean, I totally get it. Like there are definitely a few films out there that I've had like personal scuffs with, and just I'm like, I can't do it. But it's heartbreaking because that's so dumb anyway, because that is a completely different setup than yours, even if it's like we're doing an entire episode about Survive the Night.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, if anything, I'd say your film sounds like what's the Tarantino Desert?
Oh, Dust Till Dawn.
Dust Till Dawn. That like maybe closer.
Well, it wasn't really like either of them, but
right.
it just was, the wrong time. And you know how this happens all the time.
It's true. It's true. I mean, like, I'm hoping that this is something that's happening less and less. It does seem like people are willing to take risks and do things outside of the traditional Hollywood setup.
I think that's because the mid-budget film has virtually disappeared.
Yeah.
That's true.
Movies being made now have $5 million or less. Well, let's stretch it, maybe $10 million or less, or $200 million or more.
Yeah.
And that wonderful chunk in the middle of 30, 40, $50 million films, they're just not making them anymore.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, the 2 largest films I've worked on were both under 5.
Yeah.
Like,
because you if you've got enough gumption and the right kind of contacts, you can raise a few $1 million.
yeah.
But you're not going to raise 40.
Well, yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay. Well, one of the things I like about this little gimmick we do on this show of having to pick a topic of stuff is that it allows me to then kind of research and get online and look at stuff. And a lot of times I try to find something I haven't seen. If it's a topic that you guys bring up, I almost always try to go for something, because every time I pick a topic, it's usually based on a movie I just saw that I want to work into a topic.
Sure.
So thank you very much, Eric, because you brought to me, and I am bringing to you, One Dark Night.
See One Dark Night. You've never been this close to true terror.
From 30 days to 1.
Well, I followed the rules. It was survive the night, not the nights.
Well, if the sun never sets and rises, who's to say
That's true.
that it's a new day?
This movie is from 1982. It had a budget of about $1 million, and I could find no box office for it. Also, no Rotten Tomatoes critics score, but the audience has 40%. Written and directed by Tom McLaughlin. He wrote Friday the 13th, 6, Jason Lives, which is my favorite of those. Sometimes They Come Back, and has 38 other credits, including...
Stephen King?
Yeah.
Sometimes, okay.
Yeah, 38 other credits, including several episodes of the Friday the 13th series, Freddy's Nightmares, and Amazing Stories. So he's one of us. He's a nerdy horror geek. It stars Meg Tilly, who was in Psycho 2, The Big Chill, the Body Snatchers remake that I think is pretty decent. And she is, of course, the sister of Jennifer Tilly from all the Child Slave movies that I was just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Also stars Melissa Newman, who didn't have much going on. She was in an episode of Starsky and Hutch and Time Patrol, but I would know her because she was the voice of Dana Sterling in the Robotech cartoon.
Oh.
And it also stars Adam West.
Whoa.
He played Batman in 120 episodes of Batman. He has 199 other credits, and he was also the mayor of Quahog, Rhode Island.
Was he really?
Well, if you watch Family Guy.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
So this movie is weird and cool, and I had never even heard of it.
Yeah.
It starts off with all these cops pulling up to this apartment building, old style apartment building, and all these what do you call the trucks that take the bodies to the morgue. There's like 4 or 5 of
Shaggin'
them.
wagon? No, that's not it.
I hope not. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
So 4 or
That's
5
dumb and dumber,
shaggin'
sorry.
wagons pull right up. They all have bumper stickers that say gas, grass, or ass. Nobody rides for free.
Oh, well, I guess I wasn't as far off as I thought.
No, they don't have that, but we're going that way. Anyway, they're all pulling up to this apartment. There's news teams there and everything, and we find out that 6 girls have been found murdered in the apartment of famed Russian occultist Karl Raymar, and the police cannot explain it. They come in and they're just like, "What is going on here?" Because the murder scene, or not even a murder scene. It's hard to say why these girls are dead. They are all piled in a corner with their eyes wide open, and Raymar is lying dead on the floor. And when they pick him up and put him on the stretcher, these bolts of electricity shoot out of his fingers and up into the ceiling and burn a hole in the ceiling. And the cops all go, "Huh, that was weird." They don't seem nearly as bothered by this as, say, you or I might be if we had seen a dead corpse shoot electricity. We meet his estranged daughter, Olivia, and her husband. So that's Melissa Newman and Adam West. And they are unaware of the electricity thing. They're finding out about her father dying and all this. And then they meet a friend of his, Raymar, who explains that Raymar was a psychic vampire who gained great powers of telekinesis by kidnapping young girls, terrorizing them, and then feeding off the fear that produced.
Wow.
Huh.
Now, he's telling them this, and they are both mighty skeptical. This is because they have not seen the electricity. You or I watching this goes, this tracks. So Adam West is like, get out of here, you weirdo, and all this stuff. And this guy shows Olivia a set of photographs to demonstrate how bioenergy works, and then gives her a bunch of audio tapes that outline his findings. And as the movie goes on, she's kind of listening to these tapes, and the rest of the stuff is happening. So we are all starting to hear his backstory, Raymar's backstory. And she's starting to buy into the idea that her dad was a pretty creepy psychic vampire dude. So meanwhile, that's kind of the backstory. That's actually the B plot. The A plot is that Meg Tilly plays, I guess, a high school student named Julie who wants to be part of a club called the Sisters. So at first, as this is going on, I'm thinking, oh, this is like a sorority house she wants to get into. But it's not. It's 3 girls who call themselves the Sisters, and she wants to be a part of this club very badly. Yeah, they don't feel like they should be high school girls, but it doesn't feel like they're part of a sorority. So anyway, one of the girls is the ex-girlfriend of Julie's new boyfriend, Steve, and she is very jealous of this. And so she says, sure, you can be a part of our club, but there's a little hazing ritual that has to go on. She intends to get back at Steve and Julie by making Julie spend a night alone in a mausoleum as her initiation.
Oh, very phantasm.
All of them are unaware that Raymar's body was just entombed in this mausoleum. So that evening, Julie is dropped off at the mausoleum, and she kind of explores the place, sets up her sleeping bag in this little room. And as she's wandering around, we keep seeing flashes of Raymar's, I don't know what you would call it, his shelf or whatever it is in a mausoleum. His name is there, and his body is stuck inside the marble wall. And we keep seeing this crack that is slowly getting bigger and bigger coming off of his nameplate. And it's actually a pretty cool little thing, because she's walking along, and then you get this weird sound, and we see a shot of this, and this crack starts growing, and dust starts falling out, and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, this is going on. But if it weren't bad enough, these other girls who are just awful, they decide that they are going to dress up in costumes and sneak back into the mausoleum and scare her. Which they do. They absolutely terrify her, and she locks herself in the chapel. But everyone is unaware that the fear that these girls are producing is powering Raymar. So the crack is widening, and then we get this really cool purple glow that's coming out of there, and a little smoke and everything. It's very 82. So where am I? Yeah. So
1982.
Before the girls can leave, Raymar's powers starts opening up the other vaults in the mausoleum, and these coffins start falling out, and then these rotting cadavers pull themselves out. But they're not like zombies because they're all being telekinetically controlled by Raymar. So they're kind of like floating across the floor with their skull toes dragging on the floor and stuff. Yeah, it is pretty creepy. I was like, where has this movie been all my life? So meanwhile, Julie's boyfriend has found out about the girls' plan to scare Julie, so he heads over to the mausoleum too. And at the same time now, Olivia, Raymar's daughter, has been listening to all these tapes, and she's like, shit. And she can feel that she might have these same powers.
The shinning.
Yes. She's starting to get this very bad feeling, and she's like, oh my God, my father is still alive, or he's coming back from the dead, reawakening or something. And she heads to the mausoleum too. So the final act is pretty fun, with everybody now trapped in the mausoleum as these undead zombie things are floating around. And this is where the budget really comes in, because you can tell that it's a bunch of skeletons. They did use live or real skeletons because that's what they did in all these Hollywood movies. Dress them up and everything. But they have very limited mobility, so they don't look, much more scary than, say, if you were at a haunt and a skeleton suddenly popped out of a wall or something. It ends with kind of a very poltergeist ending, which was interesting because while I was reading this stuff, it said actually filmed a year before Poltergeist, but released afterwards. And I was like, why is that important? Well, it's important because all of these coffins are, falling out of the wall and everything. And it feels very much like the ending of the coffins and bodies coming up in the swimming pool.
Because they moved the headstones, but they left the bodies.
Yeah, you know what though? I got a real problem with that because if you dig a pool and you're not running into bodies by then, they put those bodies down deep.
That's like an 18-foot.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's all shallow pool just for the kids.
Anyway, it ends up, of course, with Raymar's daughter coming and a telekinetic fight between the two of them and all of this stuff. It's such a 80s movie, and it is so much fun. It is very low budget, but absolutely worth your time, and it's on Prime.
Prime, okay.
So a little bit of trivia. This is really interesting because I had never even heard of this movie.
Yeah.
Nominated for the best low-budget film of 1983 by the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. Instead, The Evil Dead won that.
Oh, well,
sure.
Come on.
And Poltergeist won the best horror film that year.
Sure.
So, and then Tom McLaughlin, who was the writer-director, he had little control over the final product, and it was edited without his consent. When he saw a sneak preview, he was shocked because his ending had been cut out. He begged the producers to let them shoot one final shot, and the actors, crew, and special effects team all agreed to come back for free and shoot the final shot in his garage.
Holy shit.
And I love shit like that.
And that was the one that did get used ultimately?
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
So it's just I mean, there's nothing really original about this. I don't even know if there would have been anything original about this in 82, but
sure.
It feels so much of its time. And if you like that kind of 80s horror, like I know we all do, you're going to be really pleased with this film, I think. Meg Tilly is a really strong actor too. So, and she's very young here. This might be her first or second thing.
Yeah, looking it up while you were talking, I have no recollection of this film either. Just totally missed it.
Yeah, that's like what I was saying. The beauty of this gimmick is it allows me to find movies I've never heard of and be sometimes very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
I love it. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that was my pick.
Yeah.
That means that it's Vanessa's choice next.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm really excited because we're gaining an extra hour of light and it's getting a little warmer. And
that's not usually how people describe
we're
losing an hour of sleep.
I don't care about the hour of sleep.
You're awake then anyway.
It's true. That's very true. Maybe I just adjust faster, guys. But we're coming upon spring. So I would love it if we hunted down horror films that are kind of spring oriented, as it were.
You're talking just seasonal, or can you expand your concept of?
Yeah.
Meaning?
So it can be. I'm trying to remember what my concept was.
Well, I mean, spring represents like horny time of the year for
exactly.
animals.
It can be sexual. I think it can be sexual. I think it can be spring break. So long as if we have the theme of rebirth, so long as it takes place ideally during spring and not like the winter, so The Thing wouldn't work. Aww. Even though that's being, born or awakened or whatever. I want it to be ideally in the spring season.
I'm gonna pick The Fog.
I'm not going to stop you. There's some great sexual moments in The Fog. Adrienne Barbeau's voice alone.
Oh boy, don't get me started on this. Okay, I like this idea, and I think we can make this work. So that's your homework as you're listening at home. Anyone comes up with a good idea, of course, be sure to message me privately and let me know what it is.
I did like last week, we did the Second Amendment gun thing.
Right.
And I posted asking people what their favorite action movie, and somebody on Instagram picked Hard Boiled.
Oh, nice.
The day before we posted. It's like, I want to check out tomorrow's episode.
That's awesome.
Plus, got a lot of answers on Facebook, a lot of good ones. So,
that's great.
Well, thank you. Well, big thanks to everyone who participates in that kind of stuff on the pages and likes and shares all the posts and everything. We really, really appreciate that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's it for today, and we'll be back in 1 week. We're talking spring.
Spring.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Margaret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever